Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Board Gaming Doctor. My name is Phil, and I'll be your board game doctor today. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Sweetlands. This is a 2025 release, I believe. This was kickstarted, I think, last year or earlier this year, slated to come out a little bit later. And I had the opportunity to try this game out on Tabletop Simulator, and I'm happy to dive into what makes this game work and unique, as well as potentially some game comparisons and my thoughts at the end. Now, so first of all, what is this game all about? We are these, folks who make confectionaries and sweets, and we are like the kingdom. I don't really know the theme very well, actually. The kingdom is looking to rebuild or something like that, and we are charged with building out into this sweet fantasy like area and kingdom, and building up these buildings and placing down infrastructure essentially to um, expand our outreach and to invite little cute little bunnies to join us in these areas and to essentially get points, right? So a couple of the things that make this game interesting and unique, or at least stand out for it if it's not unique. Everyone gets their own player board here and their own pieces on this asymmetric tableau or character. And there's, I believe, 8 characters to choose from, and they all have certain player powers. You have a bunch of different tracks as well. Some shared tracks up here to gain victory points, as well as on your own personal board as well. You have different types of buildings that give you certain abilities and one-time benefits that you get from placing them on here. But I think the most unique things about this game, first of all, are the cards/worker placement system. So every round you get a handful of cards. As you progress throughout the game, you have the opportunity to have more cards in your hand. But you have these cards that are all individualized, that either give you a benefit or an ongoing ability. And you have some options here. You have the ability to pay the gold amount to play the card in front of you for its ability. And if you have an available slot, you can tuck it underneath your board for an ongoing ability when these are activated at certain times in the game. Or you can discard these cards to utilize a worker placement action here, which gives you resources up at the top, money, more cards to use actions with, these discs to place actions with, etc. And essentially a bunch of different actions that let you convert your basic resources, which are wheat, wood, stone, etc., into different abilities that you can do with the game, such as placing down terrain tiles on which you need to, or adjacent to, build these roads, which flip these over to make them give you abilities and be built upon by the buildings on your tableau, as well as moving up tracks, etc. The game is played over 5 rounds, and you have a bunch of different cards here. I think after I drew my cards, there were about 200 or so cards, all individualized, all giving you different abilities to play with. They all have different names on them as well. There is some iconography, set collection type of stuff going on as well that help you activate certain cards as well as decrease the amount on certain cards as well. And wrapping this all together, it's more or less an economic game where you are using cards either for their printed ability or to discard them for a worker placement ability, of which you can potentially block out someone else as well. All trying to build out on your own tableau, gaining benefits along the way, and being as efficient as possible and comboing as much as possible to allow yourself to maximize on certain tracks and gain victory points by the end of the game. I think scores are upwards of 250 if you play well enough in the solo mode here, which I demoed as well. You can go up to 300, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And just a note on the solo mode aspect, all you do essentially is flip over these two tiles. And they block certain worker placement areas for you. In addition, there is this at the beginning of each round, you get to choose a column of benefits that you gain. You block the benefit that you just had gained from the previous round with your AI opponent here. So, and that's essentially the gist of how this works. You also have some milestones, especially in the multiplayer mode, to pursue as you are playing this game. So, moving on to game comparisons. So, comparing this game to others, the first game that I thought about was Terra Mystica. It is different than Terra Mystica because in that game you do have a shared map that you're building on, and in this game it's more individualized. However, I feel like the economics of this game are somewhat similar, all the way from the alternative bonuses that you get from each round, kind of hopping back and forth between them, the resource conversion as well, playing fairly tight, and the ability to kind of build your own presence on the map with buildings, etc. So I really enjoyed that because there, I guess, essentially wasn't a lot of player interaction, which I do appreciate from Terra Mystica, Age of Innovation, and so forth. But and there's some with the worker placement, but I I suppose there would be more opportunities to get in people's way with the worker placement board. But as far as building your own map, it's more along the lines, I would say, of like Castles of Burgundy or even Agricola, right? Where it's more you're solving your own little puzzle on your board and hopefully making sure that you get to an action sooner than someone else if that is something that you really should do. Um, and so, in that, I guess, in that sense, it's kind of like using power in Terra Mystica, where you want to use that since they're available for everyone to use, but only the first person to that action can activate it, and no one else can. So, yeah. So it was, yeah, it felt like an economic Terra Mystica, or even like Age of Caledonia or Clans of Caledonia. Uh, Especially with the fact that the main resource in this game is money. Um, I'm on the fourth round here, and my income, and that's another thing too. You are steadily gaining income on these tracks and keeping track of that, and so that is different than the actual resources you get. But yeah, I've got like 28 coins to spend throughout the game for cards or actions and other things, and so uh, I like the choices that are presented because of the higher amount of coins, higher in terms of like games that don't really have a lot of excess resources to spend on. When I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking of like Rosenberg games, usually, unless you're talking about Newsfjord, but more along games like Ark Nova, which uses a money system, Brass, Birmingham, just to name a few more famous and well-known games. They have higher amounts of gold or coins or dollars or money, whatever you want to call them, to facilitate a lot of the actions in the game. So the card play is interesting. I wouldn't say it's unique per se, but I really do appreciate the multi-use nature of these cards. I no, it's not like Ark Nova where each card is essentially all you can do with it is play it. If you have enough money and the right resources and things on your board. This actually reminded me of Lisboa, another game that I really enjoy, where each card that you draft or pick up has potentially a couple of different ways to utilize it. You can either use it, slide it on top of your board to activate its effect and have an ongoing ability, or tuck it underneath from the other way, very similar to this mechanism of tucking these under your board. I forget if that's the right way or the other way in Lisboa in particular, but I like the choices that are offered here with these cards, either serving as an action in and of themselves or potentially for worker placement, and which ones do you want to activate and slide under here for ongoing benefits as well. And I guess more of the comparison to Arc Nova is like this sheer amount of cards that you have in this deck. So every turn, every round, you are presented with a new set of resources and potential avenues of play that will dictate I guess, the variability from round to round and from game to game, in addition to your own asymmetric player, which is also reminiscent of Terra Mystica, right? So yeah, so I really like the card play. I think this is the most unique mechanism in this game, or at least the driver that makes this game really feel interesting round to round, having a different card puzzle that you're trying to solve every time. So what score would I give this game? Based off of my first impressions, this is a very, very fun game. I would give this an 8 out of 10. I one, I recently my old computer broke, and that's why it took me so long to do this. I was playing this game in the midst of that breaking, and so I finally got a new laptop, and now I'm presenting this to you a couple of weeks later. But I didn't have enough time to really dive into my criteria. But I want to play this game again so I can uh, really refine my criteria here, but just to glaze over things that are important to me, right? Variability, replayability, the rules complexity uh, to playtime, is important to me. How fun it is, do I find it fun, etc. Right? So the solo mode is really good. It's really simple. The and the solo mode really facilitates learning this game very well. I like the variability with the ton of cards that you have and the different puzzle that you have to solve with each of them every turn. The Euro style mechanisms come through very well with layering on tracks, which are I think enticing to me. Like I really like this track in particular, the industry track. Actually, this kind of reminded me of Russian railroads, where you're moving along with this wagon and you're only getting benefits of the more orange colored track spots as you're going along. You have to build out these industry milk buildings in order to continue to progress. But once you get to this spot, you can unlock your locomotive and move this along as well, gaining an abundance of points by the end of the game for how far you've gone, but also these high level bonuses as well as you go along. So that kind of was really interesting to me. I enjoyed progressing this track, and my particular character wanted me to progress on this industry track as well. But then you have all of these different tracks, which give you some really unique, well, not unique, but really sought after benefits for going up these tracks. Not just giving you points by the end of the game for how many roads or buildings you have placed on the board, but also giving you some income benefits and what have you. So I really did not mind the tracks in this game. I felt like they were very much supplemental and not the focus of this game, leaving you to really build out your tableau and utilizing this worker placement spot. I think the worker placement itself in the solo game is very well open. I didn't feel like I was pressured into one, not being able to do much with my worker placement actions. The blocking sometimes blocked a space that I wanted to pursue, but I thought it was totally fine. The I forgot to mention too that the tableau building here kind of follows similar rules to Terra Mystica, where like 3 buildings in a row form a city, right? And so it's beneficial to try to form like multiple cities to get more points intermittently throughout the different rounds, rather than making one big huge city. And this is an interesting thing because according to the scoring, if you have reached none of these docks, you get minus 40 points at the end of the game. and the only way to get positive points is to reach all four of these. And in my fourth round, I've reached one. It looks like you can reach them with tiles, and so as well as roads or what have you. So I'm really interested to see how efficient I would have needed to be to make this work. And I think that is intriguing in and of itself, and once helps me want to play this game. Um, but yeah, it's not going to be the same tableau building experience like Agricola. I think it's going to be more along the lines of Castles of Burgundy, where I think it is neat, and perhaps every game could feel a little different based off of which directions you want to pursue. And I think that does also play a part in which character you want to play. But it would be really cool to see how well this game can be played, and so that and that's another thing that I think is appealing is having a room for growth and mastery in playing this game a lot. And so I think there is a lot of room for that. And yeah, so I really enjoyed this game. 8 out of 10 for me. Really would want to play this game multiplayer. I think at 4 players, it would take quite a bit of time since there are a lot of decisions that you need to make for your own puzzle, right? And so, um, perhaps I would surmise that downtime would be extended as you're trying to solve your own riddle and seeing what is available. I don't think there's going to be a lot of pivoting that occurs based off of blocking with the worker placement. And so, if there are some games where playtime and downtime is increased because of the nature of worker placement and having to pivot based off of what other people do. But I don't think that's going to be strictly the case with this game, but it might be. But in any case, yeah, really, really enjoyed it. So that's Sweetlands. The tabletop simulator version, by the way, is not in English. The rule book is. I want to say that this is Korean. I apologize if it's not, but the English rules are on Board Game Geek, and you can look at them there. So that's Sweetlands. Hopefully this intrigues you as well as intrigued me. And if this is your type of game, I think you have something to look forward to if when this game kind of comes around a little bit later this year, I believe. Thank you for listening or watching this video. Hope you schedule an appointment with me real soon, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.